You mentioned before about soft skills. How important is that for someone working on set? And especially like if you can think of some examples of what are the typical things on your first day of working on set with a new crew that you typically focus on, whether it is getting to know the gaffers, getting to become good friends with the first AD, so that way you actually have someone who's got your back. For you, what
Right.
are the typical things that you make sure you do every time?
Like I said, like this empathy of knowing what everyone else's department is, and you understand what how they're trying to move and how fast they're trying to get things done, and if you impede or help things. But I think knowing what you need to do and how you can do it fast is I mean, you get instant respect. It is just communicating. I mean, it's just communicating. This is what I need. It's going to take about this much time, and I'll be out of your way. And having those calculations. There's times where it's like, yeah, we don't have the time to do it, or we do, and I I'll come back. I'll game plan and I'll shoot what I need, pick up what I need, or find something in a similar situation, or you just start talking the talk, and I'll talk, and two or three cameras is like, if this guy steps out after the shot, can you roll this and get me a clean plate? That'd be fantastic. And it's like, yeah, no problem for me. I'm done with my shot. I got everything I need. And you're just communicating. It's just like you're not hindering anything. It's just like the calculations. You know what production needs to tell the story. You know what's going to hit the editing room table, and then if you can make subtle adjustments, you get everything you need for visual effects. It's knowing what everyone's department is, knowing camera, knowing when you could just roto, and when your best case scenario should be keying it, and being respectful of time. Time is money on both sides of the budget, and you have to make those calculations, and you have to communicate with every other department. So I think the more you understand and show that you understand that whole process, the more respect you get from ADs, and the more they respect how fast and how effective you can be and how helpful you can be, especially in the whole creative process. There's a lot of times where you're working with actors, and they really are actually involved, and they really want to know, like, how is this going to work, and how does it play out, in the final result, and how does that inform their performance. So it's a lot of that. It's a lot of that soft skills. But then, if you come from that filmmaking background, you get it. You get how the shots have to go together. You get how the performance has to go together, and how visual effects informs that process.
I was curious for you, when you're starting a new project as a VFX supervisor on client side especially, but what are the typical things that you do in the beginning, whether it's questions you need answered or just the typical process that you find every time that you're starting a new project?
It really depends on the scope, as you would imagine, of what we're trying to achieve creatively. But I mean, oftentimes production designers they're speaking the same language that you are, and cinematographers and gaffers are speaking the same language that you are. So you're just figuring out what you can contribute to each. And I think I was blessed early in my career of like working with, even shooting model miniatures and working with set designers and model miniature makers, and saying like, what can I provide? What can we do in post? How can I, light things, or how can you offer an opportunity for me to do something creatively or technically better and easier? So it's just, you're going to find that, if you understand everyone else's, where they're coming to it and what they have to bring to the table, that creative empathy, then you really just bring kind of a spitball back and forth. It's like, what if I do this way, and I know this is going to be hard for you. What if I offer a solution on post side of it, and versus what they want to do practically. So I think, like, if you're working with good people and they all are masters of their game and bring in their best game to the table, I think you can all work together very creatively and find really good solutions to creative problems.
I'm curious too, more when you were project to project, especially as a VFX soup, how did you make sure you always had the next project lined up?
From show to show to show, you never know. I think you build a reputation in this industry. I think you build a network in this industry, and you build trust in this industry. And as we know, it's a small industry, and people know you. And I think with that comes a lot of trust, and with that comes a lot of opportunity. And I'm like everyone else in this business. It's always been like, oh yeah, you start, and there's going to be times where there's like, hey, there's nothing going on next. Again, I think the thing that leans into this business is it is creative. It is a collaboration of creative people. So with that, obviously has to come the network. It's like if you're putting together a team, it's just like, who's amazing at muscle rigging? This person. Who's amazing at lighter? This person. It's like, who's doing some awesome effects work? This person. And you really just like, I mean, it's almost at this level, and I've kind of done some producing as well. It's just like you kind of build in your head the best case scenario to put the best team together, So I think with that whole process comes a broadening of networking and understanding where people are from and what their passions are, what they want to do, and then pursue it that way. So I think that's been hugely advantageous. And I think, with the things that people think are like limitations or, the rough parts of your career of like, traveling and jumping to different place to place, comes great opportunity with diversification of your skills and the people across the planet. So like what you see as the worst case scenario of like, oh my God, I've got to go to Vancouver, or I've got to go to another place, New Zealand, comes great opportunity because in some cases you'll see people you worked with for years on the other side of the planet. In some cases you build great relationships with brand new people you never worked with before and find a kinship. Turning what you think is a disaster or the horrible things about this career can be your next best, building over the time, your most powerful asset.
Yeah, and it is so funny how small the industry is. Like, I was just on a call with a friend of mine. He's souping Robert Downey Jr.'s new show for HBO they're in Thailand right now shooting. And this is funny because I'm up in Portland, Oregon right now. And
right.
But most of the crew are actually from Oregon, it seems. And on top of that, my friend was asking for a contact that he wanted to reach out for a different project, and I was like, their company is actually in Thailand, of all places, so it's just like down the street. So I mean, the more people the more that everyone kind of sprawls out, so it becomes a very worldly place where everyone is everywhere, which is kind of great.
No, it does. I mean, like it's funny because the evolution of this business used to be a very condensed and like monoliths of 500, 600 artists, and with that, with some of that shakeup and with some of the more rough times, with leaner, more agile visual effects companies and vendors,